Thanks for those that are new to the room. My name's Steve. I'm known as the Hands-On Angel, and this is Founder Fundraising Feedback. I've spent the last 9 years working with over 6,000 early-stage tech founders, most of them at the pre-seed stage. I have personally backed 69 companies to date. Those companies have raised a combined $1.4 billion with a B, and I've had 11 exits between $15 million and $400 million. And we use these lives to educate and empower early-stage tech founders who have questions about the early stage fundraising process, because it's hard at times. A lot of times founders don't know where to find investors. If they can find them, they don't know how to do authentic reach out. They don't know what platforms they're on. I do try to reserve a certain portion of my schedule every week to talk with founders. If you feel you're ready to fundraise, if you want to pressure test your pitch deck, there's a link in my bio if you want to try to grab time there. Are there still investments in SaaS? I would say there are. I hope so. 50% of my portfolio is SaaS companies. I think SaaS is going to change over time. Not muted anymore. Okay, cool. Thanks. I think SaaS is going to change over time. Here's what I don't think SaaS is going to be going forward. I don't think SaaS is going to be this, you pay $100 for a Salesforce license and you pay it every month, 12 months a year, and whether you use it or not, you pay that money. I don't think that's what SaaS is going to be. I think what SaaS is going to look like is what some of the LLMs look like right now. It's going to be consumption-based. It's going to be credit-based. So depending upon your size of company, depending upon how often you use the tool and how much you consume, you will pay based on that. That's where it's going. So traditional SaaS, I think that's going to go by the wayside, but I don't think SaaS as a, paying for software and a monthly recurring rate is going to go away. I think it's going to morph into a different type of company. That's just my opinion. Do I have any bias on how old founders are? I hope not, because I'm a two-time founder and I'm 55 years old. I didn't start my first company until I was 46. I don't. The youngest founder I've backed so far, I think, was 22. And the oldest founder I've backed, I want to say, is in his late 50s, close to 60 years old. 7-time founder. I think age is just a number. I will tell you that the demographic is skewing younger, and that's simply because technology is less expensive. You don't need to raise millions of dollars to get started. You can vibe code something in a weekend. And a lot of folks that are earlier in their career are not thinking of, going to college right now because they don't need to take computer science. So they're starting companies a lot younger. So that's skewing younger. What are the conditions for investment? So first of all, you have to be a badass founder, number one. You have to be solving a big problem. You have to be able to surround yourself with people that can help you. You cannot build a venture scale company on the backbone of one person. You need a team to do that. So can you recruit talent, and can you sell? You need to be able to sell your ass off. Can you sell customers on using your product and buying your product? Can you sell people to work with you as colleagues at your company? And can you sell investors on investing in your company? Those are all things that are really important. After that, where I spend most of my time, pre-seed stage, early stage tech companies, predominantly B2B. I've done a little bit of B2C, but about 80% of my investments have been B2B, businesses selling to other businesses. Pre-seed companies raising $500,000 to $2 million at valuations of $3 to $10 million. That's about 90% of the deals. Areas that I know about or I care about. First of all, B2B SaaS, AI, fintech, sports tech, health tech, ed tech, and prop tech. Those are probably the 7 verticals where I've spent the most time, and more importantly, I can be the most help to the founders because I have experience in those areas. So that's where I spent most of my time. Are there any AI pitch deck reviewers for an investor to score intake all decks they get? Some of them are using it. I'm not a huge fan of it. I still think this is a people business and people buy from people. And I think these are very personal and individual decisions when it comes to evaluating a founder's ability to execute. The pitch deck can say what it's going to say, but it's all about the founder's ability to execute, actually. My opinion. Do you think the larger seed rounds are hurting more than they're helping? It just depends. I think rounds are actually smaller because you don't need as much capital to go as far. So I'm seeing pre-seed rounds that would have been $2 or $3 million rounds, now $500,000 or $1 million rounds. And I'm seeing seed rounds that might have been $5 or $7 or $8 million rounds. People are raising $2, $3 million seed rounds because you don't need as much capital, because the speed at which technology is developing is going so fast. You don't need as much capital. So round sizes are actually smaller. At least that's what I'm seeing. One of my co-investors in a tequila company that I helped start with the co-founder of Clase Azul, the legendary tequila, the white bottle with the bell on top. Started a new tequila brand. It launched this month in California. It's called Blended Blue. It was my 69th investment. I had 2 cases of it show up at my house yesterday, so it was super exciting. Some pre-seeds are hitting 20 million valuation. Would you not invest? I would not. I haven't done a valuation over $10 million in the last 4 years. I haven't had to. There are way too many good companies that are in that $3 to $10 million valuation bucket right now. Even in AI, you can get AI companies under $20 million. It's not easy to find them, but you can. But no, $20 million would not be would be too big of a round for a pre-seed from my perspective. Lots of 10 to 24-year-olds have been successful, but you think there's an experience bonus for 40 plus? Listen, here's the thing. I didn't become an entrepreneur until I was 46 years old. I'm on my second company in my mid-50s. I would not have been as good if I was in my 20s. I just didn't know enough. I didn't have enough life experiences. I think that's changing with the onset of AI, but I don't think I would have known or been able to do what I did in my 20s, what I did in my 40s. At what time, stage, milestone in the journey should you start raising capital? This is from Ibra. This is an awesome question. So in order to get investment, you have to be investable. Something has to be happening in the business. Is revenue growing fast? Did you go from 2,000 a month to 10,000 a month in 90 days? Did you go from 10 companies on the wait list to 50 companies? Like, what's happening in the company? Are there not enough hours in the day for the number of people that want to talk to you or want to use your product? That's when you want to think about potentially taking an outside investment. If you haven't launched the product, it's too early. If you don't have users, it's too early. If you don't have paying customers, it's too early. It's better for you to spend time talking to potential users and customers as opposed to potentially trying to raise from outside investors. That's just my take. How big is my fund? I don't have a fund. It's all my own money. I do all my investing with a group of investors, co-investors into these companies. We put together what's called a syndicate, which is a group of individual investors that pool their money and resources to invest in a single company as a single name on the cap table. The minimum we've ever put into a single company is $50,000. The most we've ever put into a single company is $400,000. And that depends upon the company, their traction, the round dynamics, the round size, how much of the round is already allocated. Like, there's a lot of factors on what amount we will put in, but we've done $50,000 to $400,000 into these 69 portfolio companies. I hope that's helpful. After bootstrapping, listen, half of my portfolio companies bootstrapped anywhere from 1 to 3 years before they ever raised outside venture. I'm a huge fan of bootstrapping. You learn so much in that process. First of all, you learn what works and doesn't work. You learn how to stretch every dollar. You learn how to extend runway, and you learn how to sell. You learn what customers like, what they don't like, what they're willing to buy, what they're not willing to buy. And you have the pressure of, if you don't sell and get people to use your product, the company can't grow. I think there are so many benefits of bootstrapping. I wish more founders would do it earlier in the process. I really do. Finding investors to buy a kennel facility, not really my jam. I am an early stage tech investor. So I spend time predominantly in B2B, SaaS, AI, fintech, health tech, sports tech, ed tech. Those are the predominant verticals that I spend time in. Investors are on platforms other than LinkedIn. Absolutely. TikTok, hello. Hands-on Angel on TikTok. TikTok, X is a massive platform for investors. Almost every major investor, VC, is on the X platform. Instagram, a lot of them are starting to gravitate to Instagram. Some of them have their own YouTube channels. I'm on 5 platforms. I'm on LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and X. I post every day on those 5 platforms, multiple times a day. I'm posting 45 to 50 times a week across those 5 platforms. Great question, by the way. Can you get into Techstars with 10 beta users and 0 MRR? Chris, honestly, it would be hard. So let me give you some stats, Chris, because I was on the investment committee for the fall cohort of Boston, which is one of the areas, one of the Techstars programs I've worked with. We had 2,000 applications and we accepted 7 companies. 2,000, we accepted 7. Almost every one of the companies had revenue. One of the companies had $1 million in revenue already. 2 or 3 of the companies had already raised $500,000 or $1 million before they got into Techstars. It's really hard. The competition for programs like Techstars and Y Combinator is more difficult than I've ever seen it. Do you ever source startups or invested in those that leave comments on your post or only inbound? Phil, great question. I have done business with founders that I've met on TikTok. I'm in diligence with one right now that I met on TikTok. I do probably 10 calls a week with new founders that I'm meeting through this platform. I have investors that I've co-invested with that I met on TikTok. So yeah, to answer your question, Have I started to do business with people that I've met on this platform? Absolutely. The person moderating this live right now, my friend Maria Sosco, check her out, by the way. Awesome, badass founder. Met her here a year and a half on TikTok. She is building an amazing hot sauce company. I will ask her to throw it into the chat right now. I met her here on TikTok a year and a half ago. I'm one of her biggest customers. I've made referrals to her for potential partners, lawyers, a potential distribution partner. I do business a lot with folks on TikTok. I would say 50% of the new relationships I'm getting right now from a business perspective is actually happening because of this platform. Phil, I appreciate your question, man. Thank you. How do you get me to invest in your business? You literally have to be a badass founder solving a massive problem. You have to have a product to market. You have to have paying customers. It needs to be growing. And you need to be in an area that I know about, care about, or I can help you. Like B2B SaaS, AI, sports tech, fintech, health tech, ed tech. That's what you need to be. AI native influencer marketing agency, $250,000 gross revenue, 20% net profit, 9 months. Congratulations, by the way. Investable or bootstrap. When you say agency, that tells me services business, which historically is not venture backable. Doesn't mean that's the case here, but for example, I'm a services business. I have a consulting business. I would never raise outside venture. I bootstrapped it. I fund all the growth through organic. And that doesn't make it a bad business. It just means it's not venture backable. So I'd need to know a little bit more about the business. Is there a tech element? Is it defensible before giving you an answer on that? But great question, by the way. So you don't invest in ideas like seeds. No, seed is actually the second stage of investment. There is bootstrapping, then there's pre-seed, then there is seed. Most companies would not be at the idea stage at seed. Seed is like $1 million to $5 million round. And to answer your question, I do not invest in idea stage companies. Of my 69 investments, I've only made one pre-revenue investment. It was my 69th, actually. It was a tequila company called Blended Blue. Actually, I'm going to do a little show and tell. Hang on. This is one of the first bottles ever of Blended Blue. Hello. So I helped start this company about a year ago. It was one of the 4 co-founders of Clase Azul Tequila, which was it's the big white bottle with the bell on top. It's $1 billion brand. One of the 4 co-founders I met 2 years ago, I asked him if he was ever going to start another tequila company. He's like, funny you should mention it. I'm starting a blended tequila company. We're going to blend, just like whiskey blends, we're going to blend different types of tequila. And I asked him if he was ever thinking about raising venture capital, because a lot of my friends own bars, restaurants, or hotel chains, and they're in the spirit space. He said he'd never consider it. I asked to get involved, and my investor group invested the first $340,000 to launch the company, which I'm very proud to say is launching this month in California, and this is the first bottle ever to come off the production line for Blended Blue. So, and I met him at a random party in California 2 years ago, and I was introduced to him. And he literally has Tequila Charles as his email. It's insane. Distribution is hard. You have to have the right people involved. Luckily, we're launching only in California. We're not launching retail. We're only going bars and restaurants. And we have a 15-year veteran. She is a total badass that has hundreds of accounts that she can call on immediately for distribution. And we've got one of the 4 co-founders of Clase Azul. So that's really how we raised the round. I just got a bunch of my friends, and I'm like, I'm going to start a tequila company with the co-founder of Clase Azul. Do you want to invest? They're like, yeah, we'd love to do that. So we'll see. Time will tell how it can be, if it can be successful, but I like our chances. Average check size, it depends, Sean. It depends upon the round size, the dynamics, the traction, the company. We've done 69 investments so far in my investor group. I think the smallest check we ever wrote was $50,000. The largest was $400,000. So between 50 and 400,000, just depends. Thank you for your question, by the way. How much is the bottle? It's going to retail for about $125. So there's a big gap in the tequila space. There's a ton of tequilas between 40 and 70, and a ton from $150 to $2,000. But there isn't real great luxury tequila in that $90 to $125 price point, and there is nothing like this from a blended perspective. It might be the best tequila I've ever had in my life. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an investor in the company. It is. I've given it to friends of mine who literally grew up in Mexico. They are tequila snobs, and they're like, this knocked their socks off. Opening a furniture shop in Kenya, if you need $2,800, you should be going to friends and family or a bank. Definitely not a stranger, definitely not a venture investor. Same thing with $46,000. It's too small for venture investors. It's too small for strangers. You should be doing a friends and family round. Soap factory, not my jam. I am an early stage tech investor. So let me give you some areas that I spend time in. 80% of my investments have been B2B, businesses selling to other businesses. 20% has been consumer, including Blended Blue. Areas that I care about, know about, or help founders in. B2B SaaS. I spent 25 years in B2B SaaS. AI, health tech, fintech, sports tech, ed tech, and prop tech. Those are probably the 7 verticals where I've spent the most time, and more importantly, I can be the most help to those founders. How to build distribution? The way I would build distribution for any company, and a lot of people say you can't do it in B2B, I say bullshit. I'm a B2B creator and I build businesses on social every day. You should be doing UGC, user-generated content. If you're a new business and you have barely any customers or any revenue, and you are not filming content on your phone, not about you and your life, I don't care what you had for dinner last night, about the problem your product or service solves for potential customers. And you're not cutting that up yourself in CapCut and putting that on the social platforms, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc., 3 to 4 times a day, 5 days a week minimum, you are out of your mind. You can get users, feedback, you can test pricing, you can get revenue. It's a great way to launch your product. It's an awesome way to do distribution. And by the way, it doesn't cost you a dime. So many founders are afraid to do user-generated content. You shouldn't be. Hit the go button. Peace, Matthew, it depends, man. You could be seeking a $100,000 investment. Matthew, without knowing anything about your business, you might not be worth $100,000. My question back to you, Matthew, is where are you in your journey? Is the EdTech platform launched? If so, how many companies or users are using it? Do you have a monthly recurring revenue number? Is it growing? If yes, fantastic. Then 100,000 might be really easy to raise. If not, you might be too early to raise. The biggest mistake I see early stage tech founders make is they try to raise money before they're ready. They do. They're raising money way too early in the process. They're so excited to talk to investors, but they're afraid to talk to customers. Your time is better spent in the early stages talking to potential users and potential customers until you get to that point of having 5,000, 10,000 a month in revenue and it's growing fast to when it's exciting to talk to an investor. Otherwise, all you're going to get is conversations that are going to go like this. Matthew, come back to me when you have launched it. Come back to me when you have users. Come back to me when you have at least 10,000 a month in revenue and it's growing. And you don't want to hear that 30 times. What I'm arguing to you is go spend time talking to customers. You'll be amazed at what can happen. And when you're ready, then approach investors for whether it's $100,000 or $1 million. I hope that's helpful, man. Sanitation company in Zambia, not my jam. Doesn't mean that what you're working on is bad, but I'm an early stage tech investor, predominantly focused in the United States. I have done international investments provided they have a Delaware C parent company. What's your mix of pre and post revenue? 1 pre-revenue investment and 68 post-revenue investments, B. Radin. I've only invested in a pre-revenue company once. It was this company right here, Blended Blue, but multi-time founder, built $1 billion business prior, was going back into a business. He had built $1 billion business prior, and I knew everybody investing in the company on the cap table. So that was the reason I did the investment. Some investors do invest pre-product. It's just not me, and it's not my investor group. And what I would tell you is finding a pre-product, pre-revenue investor in today's day and age with AI the way it is and the fact that you can vibe code a product in a weekend, it is really hard to find that. Really, really freaking hard. Like, I don't want to say they don't exist, but you are literally looking for a unicorn. You're looking for a unicorn. But to each his own. For those that have not had a chance to grab it yet, if you're a founder thinking of fundraising, you absolutely want to have this in your bag. This is my free newsletter. It comes out every Wednesday. It gives you tips and tactics on where to find investors, what platforms investors hang out on, how to do authentic reach outs, sample pitch decks, everything you need to know on how to raise. It's in this newsletter. Make sure you grab a copy. My gift to you is a thank you for joining us in this Wednesday edition of Founder Fundraising Feedback. B. Radin, that's fair, man. You can vibe code the front end, but B2B, SOC 2 back end can be expensive. Totally agreed, man. Totally agreed. Would you invest in a services-based business? I wouldn't, but it doesn't mean services businesses are wrong. I have friends that have built services businesses into $2 million, $5 million, $10 million a year. It's not a bad thing. It's just not typically venture backable. So everything I'm talking about here are venture scale investments. investments that I think can take companies to 10, 20, 50, $100 million in revenue. Doesn't mean services businesses are bad. You're looking at a founder of a services business. I have a consulting business that I will never raise outside venture for. I bootstrapped it, and the operations fund the growth, and it's all organic. Great question, by the way. Best to get the IP secured before going to raise? I don't think so, RA. Just my opinion. A lot of times founders come to me and they're like, hey, I don't want to go to raise until I get my trademark and my patent and all that. And I'm like, trademark, okay, that's not that expensive, doesn't take that long. Patents, first of all, cost a truckload of money. They take a really long time. And I see founders worrying about NDAs and patent protection. It's just not worth your time. It's so much better. If you really want to protect what you built, because patents can be challenged. On the onset of AI, it's becoming so much more difficult to protect technology. If you really want to protect what you're building, don't just build a world-class product, build a world-class experience for your customers. Make the onboarding world-class. When they have a problem, respond to them. Respond to emails, respond to trouble tickets, have a live chat with an actual person. That is the stuff that's going to make product market fit and make people not want to leave your company. It's not going to be your trademark, your patent or your trademark. It's not. I think founders focus way too much on too early in the process. They're just not, they're focused on the wrong things. I think you should focus on the customer experience, making it world-class, and that will protect you better than any patent.